Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a montage of potatoes. And first we are going to start with roasted potatoes. Nice crispy roasted potatoes. So thanks again for joining me on Cooking is Fire. First we're going to start by peeling the potatoes, obviously. After you're done peeling the potatoes, you want to cut them up, get them into a bowl. The easiest way to do that is just to cut it on one side like this, pull it over, cut it on the other side, and you have four pieces, and then cut it into thirds. I like to do it into thirds instead of quarters, just to get the pieces a little small. That way they can cook faster and you don't have to wait as long. So after you get your potatoes all cut up, you just want to soak them in some cold water just to get some of the starch off of the potato. Just give them a bit of a mix, and do this a couple times. Soak the potato, strain the water out, lose potatoes, and then just fill it back up. Do this a couple times, get all that starch out, and you'll be left with a much crispier potato afterwards. When you're cutting your potato, you want to make sure you have nice uniform sized pieces so they're all relatively the same, so that they cook at the same time, and that way you don't have some that are undercooked and some that are overcooked. We'll get them transferred into our boiling water over here. Be careful, if you don't want to do that with hot water, you can put them in cold water and then turn it on and heat it up if that's what you prefer. It doesn't matter. This is just going to be quicker. After you get your potatoes in, or even before, it doesn't matter, make sure you season your water with some salt, and we'll move on to the garlic. So while your potatoes are boiling, you'll want to get the rest of your ingredients ready. So we have some garlic cloves here. Nice easy way to peel a garlic clove. If you just give it a little bit of a crush, that peel will come right off. Cut off that little bit of an end there, and we'll just give it a little bit of a crush, and that's ready to go. We don't want to chop it up. We're just basically flavoring the oil with the garlic and the thyme that we're cooking the potatoes in. I don't know about you, but I really love garlic, so I'm going to put quite a few cloves in here. All right, so we're just left with our garlic, our thyme, salt, pepper, and olive oil. Now, when the potatoes are almost finished boiling, I'm going to put some of this olive oil into the pan I have over there with the garlic and the thyme. I'm going to put it in the oven, and I'm going to heat it up so that when I put the potatoes in there, it's hot already. As you can see from our potatoes here, the water is very murky. These potatoes are very, very cooked. They're basically ready for mashed potatoes. Fork slides in, super easy. So these are perfect right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave those on for a few more minutes just to get them perfect. And in the meantime, I'm going to get some olive oil in this pan with the garlic and the thyme, get that in the oven and get it heating up for these beautiful mashed potatoes. They're the most beautiful mashed potatoes. They're the best mashed potatoes that have ever existed. So olive oil, garlic, our thyme, just get that all in there. A little more olive oil. We really do want lots of oil for this. It's going to soak into the potatoes and get them super crispy. So into the oven we'll go with that. We'll set that oven for 425. And then we'll get these potatoes off into the strainer. Get that water drained out of there. It doesn't mix with oil well. Just give them a little bit of a toss just to get this nice texture, like they're falling apart. That's going to make them super crispy, and it's going to allow some of the oil to get inside the potato and really, really cook that up. Like that is perfect. Just going to lay these potatoes on this rack here right now just to cool off a little bit. Make sure you get all that potato in there. I know it looks like Even this stuff here, it looks like maybe you could just get rid of that, but I want all of that in there. We're not going to cool them down too much, just for like 5 or 10 minutes while our oil is in the oven heating. Okay, so our oven is heated up to 425, and the oil has been in here. You can see the garlic and the thyme frying. That means the oil is nice and hot. We're just going to put that here. Going to grab our potatoes. We're going to slowly get those potatoes in the oil. You don't want to splash the oil everywhere, so just, you know, we're just going to give those a toss. Make sure we get them covered in the oil. Try to keep the thyme in the pan. Looking not too bad. We'll get those in the oven here. Set our timer for 45 minutes to begin with. It could take upwards of an hour and a half, depending, but we'll check it after 45 minutes and see where we are. All right, we got our potatoes tossed in our oil. I just want to make sure we season them as well. So we're going to get some salt on there. Some nice black pepper. I know there's a lot of people out there who think that you should use white pepper for potatoes, but I absolutely love black pepper, and I will always use black pepper. Okay, we got our potatoes seasoned, tossed in some hot oil, thyme, garlic. We're just going to get that in the oven. Set our timer for 45 minutes. We can check after the 45 minutes, and if they're done, great. If they need more time, then we haven't overcooked them at this point. All right, we got about 15 minutes of our 45 minutes left, and so we're just going to check on these. Definitely want to make sure we flip them every once in a while. Oh yeah, see, they're starting to crisp up nicely. I know it still looks like a bunch of mashed potatoes falling apart right now still, but honestly these are going to crisp up very nicely. All right, timer's just gone off, so we're just going to have another look at our potatoes. They are looking very crispy. I feel like they could still be crispier. I'm going to put them back in for another 15 minutes, and then they should be done. Okay, as you can see, we got about 15 seconds left. So in total, we did about an hour 15 cook, which is about what I expected. Hour to an hour and a half is usually what it takes, but I like my potatoes ultra crispy. All right, so our potatoes are done. I'm just going to pick out these sprigs of thyme that we put in there and get these all into this nice bowl. A little bit of olive oil. Sprig of thyme. And there we are, roasted potatoes, best, crispiest potatoes you're ever going to have. For the second potato dish, we are going to do something extremely simple. Everybody knows how to do it, but we're just going to do it anyway. It's mashed potatoes. So here we are with our ingredients. We're going to keep it, again, really simple. We've got some potatoes, salt, pepper, milk or cream, it's up to you, and some butter. And then at the end, I'm just going to finish it off with a little bit of olive oil. And trust me, it makes a difference. So I've got a pot of water here for the potatoes. I'm just going to get that on the stove. I'm going to peel the potatoes and then cut them into little pieces and get them in the water. So that's where we're going to start. So I'm using a russet potato. I really like the russet potato. I know a lot of other people prefer a yellow potato for this. Personally, I find them a bit too starchy, so I just prefer a russet potato. But you can use whatever you want. That's the fantastic thing about cooking your own food. All right, don't forget to give your potatoes a little bit of a rinse there before you cut them up and put them in the water. So when you're cutting your potato, the easiest way I've ever found to do it, and if you don't feel comfortable doing it this way, feel free to do it a safer way. I can show you another way. I like to do one cut that way, one cut the other way, and then into thirds. So another way you could do it is just to cut it in half that way, and then you could lay these out and you could cut them this way if it makes you feel safer, or if you're not comfortable with a knife, and then into thirds like that. Same thing. Right, we got our potatoes in the water, and now obviously we're just going to boil them until they're soft enough you can put a fork through them really easily. Then we'll strain the water, add our ingredients, mash them up, and we'll be good to go. Okay, so we are at the point now where our potatoes look like they're done. As you can see, the water is getting a little bit murky from the potato, and you can just check with a fork to see if it slides in, and it sure does. They are definitely ready. So we're going to get those off the stove and into a colander. Strain that water out. All right, we got our water drained. Get our potatoes back in the pot. We're going to get our milk or our cream in there so it starts warming up at the bottom. We're going to dump our butter in. Some cream cheese, because we love it creamy. Black pepper in mashed potatoes. I prefer it over white. I will use it every time. And we'll go in with some salt. I'm just going to give these a mash with this potato masher. There are many ways you could do this. You could put it in a mixer, like this one over here. You could put it in a food processor, I'm sure. There are probably many things you could do with this here potato. I think it's quicker, easier, and less dishes involved to just give it a good mash. Now, in my household, that would be good enough because my son prefers his mashed potatoes with a little bit of clumps in them. I'm sure there are other people out there that prefer that as well. But if you liked yours a little smoother and more whipped, then you can go in with one of these. And in the famous words of Chalandler Bong, whoop-pa, whoop-pa, whoop-pa. Just give them a good whip. Okay, we got our mashed potatoes. We're just going to come over to our bowls, our plating. Going to throw some mashed potatoes in there. Just a little tiny drizzle of olive oil. And then obviously you're going to put whatever you want on your mashed potatoes, whatever it is. In the case for tonight's dinner, we are having some bison Maui ribs. They're marinated and delicious, compliments of premium range steaks. Just drape that bison over top of there. And there we go. Dinner is served. Welcome, friends. Today we are going to make fondant potatoes. These are absolutely amazing. If you haven't tried them, I highly recommend them. Next time you're going to do mashed or something, why don't you just give these a try? They're really easy to make, and we're going to show you exactly how to do it. Okay, so for the fondant potatoes, we have our ingredients here: potatoes, garlic, thyme, salt, pepper, butter, some chicken stock that I made a little while ago, and olive oil. We're going to start by peeling and cutting the potatoes into a nice cylindrical shape. We're going to try and get them all so that they're roughly the same size, so that they all cook exactly the same, very evenly. That's going to be important. And we're going to make it look all nice so it's round and not all weird. All right, so we'll start by peeling our potato. Okay, now the fun part. This is where we're going to make it into a cylinder. And after you have this in a rough cylindrical shape, we're just going to cut this in half. Just try to keep those edges flat and roughly the same size. And I'll get finished up doing the rest of them, and then we'll get them in the pan. All right, we're going to get a generous amount of olive oil in the pan. We're just going to get that heated up, and then we'll get those potatoes in right away. All right, so we got our potatoes in the pan. We're getting the one side seared off. It's probably going to take about 5 or 6 minutes. We're just going to go ahead and season the tops of these potatoes. I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil on there to hold the seasoning. They are potatoes, so go ahead and season those generously. All right, some of them look like they're getting some color, so we're just going to give them a check here. So we're almost there. I want a little bit darker color on there. I know it's looking pretty good, but some of them are still a bit light. So we'll just get that, move these ones maybe to the center of the pan. Oh yeah. They are starting to look very good though. So we're just gonna flip these over now. Starting to look really good. Throw in some butter, some garlic, and you can just leave that, just cut a garlic in half if you want. Get our thyme in there. Just gonna baste some of these. You can use a spoon or you can brush the thyme with the butter on the potatoes. We're just gonna cook these until we see that white foam from the butter start to disappear. Turn a light tan color. Then we're gonna get in with our stock and get them in the oven, which we've preheated to 425. So we're just gonna add about half a cup of stock, anywhere between half a cup and 3/4 of a cup, depending on the size of your pan. So I used probably a little over half a cup. Okay, we got our stock in the pan, and I'm just gonna, before I throw these in the oven, I'm just gonna get some more seasoning on top of these potatoes. Again, be generous, they're potatoes, they can take it. All right, and into the oven they go. All right, so we're gonna get that in there for half an hour, and then we should be good. So while we wait for the potatoes, we might as well play with our cat. Oh, she gets it. Oh, good job. Okay, so timer went off on the oven. We're just gonna check on the potatoes. Looks like we've absorbed all the liquid. I feel like I just wanna baste these a little bit more. So I'm just gonna grab another knob of butter and toss it in the pan. The bottoms are looking beautiful. Look at that. And so there we have fondant potatoes.